In this video, we will discuss DevOpsShell clones. So we'll launch DevOpsShell. We're going to use a clone feature of DevOpsShell. Basically, clones allow us to run multiple shells which will execute the commands when the commands are entered in the parent shell or the clone shell individually. When the commands are entered in the parent shell, it's a global input. It will launch across all the clones, but each clone individually can run their own set of commands without the other clones. So basically, we'll start by calling the clone command for :clone, and we launch a single clone. A few things happened. First of all, as you can see, we have a blinking clone mode notification on top. This tells us that we are currently in clone mode. So from this point on, anything that we type in the parent does not execute in the parent. It only will execute in the clone. So I'll just move this across. If we type the ls command, notice the ls command outputs on the parent clone mode. Just let us know that this is a clone. We're in clone mode, so it will not execute on the parent, but it will execute in the clone. And notice as we type in the parent, it's also typing in the clone. Now this works the same whether we have one clone or 100 clones or more, the same thing works. So we can ping and this runs. And if we wanted to break it, we could come in here, do a control break in here. If we had multiple clones doing the same thing, we go to the parent and send a control break, and that will send across to all the clones as well. To exit clones, we can click the exit, the X button here, or use a :exit command to exit the clone. If we have many clones open and we need to exit clone mode, rather than go to each clone one at a time, let's say we had 100 clones and we just needed to cancel everything just to get rid of all 100 clones, we don't have to go in here and click 100 windows or type :exit 100 times. Instead, we go to the parent and type :exit, and this will dispatch the exit command across all the clones, and they're gone. And notice we are no longer in clone mode. It's no longer flashing clone mode. So we're back to normal. So if we did an ls command, it will execute on the parent. Now what we'll do is go back into clone mode, but this time we will deploy multiple clones. We'll do a clone and we'll do 4 clones. Our screen is small, so we'll have to make do with what we have. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just as before, we'll move this down a little so we can see what's going on here. So just as before, if we type ls, notice ls is typed on all 4 clones simultaneously. Hit enter, they all ran. So the clone command executes on 4, again, all 4, and we have the clone mode notification here. We have an exit button that we could click on to quickly exit clone mode, and that will destroy all the clones. Now, this is a very powerful feature because with clones, we can actually SSH into multiple servers. We can server 1, whatever IP or URL this server is, we could SSH to server 2, whatever IP URL, server 3, I'm sorry, SSH server 3, and then SSH to server 4. So whatever IP URL we want to represent server 4, we'll have this in here. Once we hit enter, each will prompt for login and password if we didn't provide login and password parameters, and we can now put in login and password in each shell individually. Once we've passed that phase and authenticated and we're logged into each server, at that point we can go back to the parent and work, basically do an install of an application on all 4 at the same time. And this is on a remote host, by the way, because we would have SSH into those servers. We can install applications. We can and log into a database that is on the remote host on all four. If we have four database servers, we can log it into all four individually, then go back to the parent, send database commands across to all four databases. This is great for deploying applications across multiple servers, managing multiple databases, routers, firewalls, etc. It's a very, very powerful tool and very flexible. Now, even if we SSH into a remote host, we still have access to all the DevOps shell commands and capabilities within that remote host. So if we did a note on a remote session in here in a database remotely, and we sent the output of a database query to the note, that database query output in the remote host would show in the notes, in our notes here in DevOps Shell. So this gives us the ability to grab data across any source, no matter where it is on the internet, as long as we could connect with a shell and send output from that application, that source, into DevOps Shell. If we need to rename clones, we could just go here and say my clone one, or better yet, let's do this. Database one. We'll call this one database two. Base four. So we could quickly identify each one. So if we're connected to four databases named database 1, 2, 3, 4, we could just name the clones. So this gives us a way to reference each window so we know where we're connected to, or we could even change to the IP address of the server that we're connected to, 192.1. We'll just create something here, 1.1 for example, and we could change the IP of this machine, etc. It just gives us a way to identify each clone as we work, and we have a clone number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if we want to terminate a clone, it's as simple as :exit, or we click the X. And notice as we're terminating clones, our clone count is decreasing here as well. And notice as well we have the name of the clone that we assigned to it. It's displayed here. And database 1, 192.1.2.1.1.1, sorry, it's here. And we can terminate this clone, and we have one last clone, and we'll terminate that clone, and we're out of clone mode. And that is our tutorial for clones.